Hello Cancer, and welcome to your new moon lunar cycle insight video for December 2018, beginning with the Sagittarius New Moon on the 7th of December and culminating with the Capricorn New Moon solar eclipse on the 6th of January. So this is a relatively quiet month compared to the ones that we have been experiencing recently. Last month, we saw all of those huge shifts with Jupiter and the nodes moving into your sign. And this month, we really find ourselves working through old stuff as we begin to kind of reap the rewards of all of the hard work we've been doing as Venus and Mercury both leave their retrograde shadows. So we begin this month with, I don't know whether you can see my cat here, she always comes to join in one of the videos, and this month she has chosen you. This is Lilith. Come and sit down then. So we begin this month for you, Cancer, with Venus and Mercury moving back into your 5th house, where they both began their retrograde journeys. And Venus, of course, has been rebirthing herself in the underworld since October time. So now she crosses back into Scorpio, and she crosses the ground that she's been moving backwards and forwards over. So for you, Cancer, this has mostly taken place in your 5th house, which is the house that is associated with creativity, authentic self-expression, sacred self-love. It's the Leo house of the birth chart. It's the house that is ruled over by the sun, my expression of myself, of who I am. So you may have been during this period learning some deep lessons around self-love, around loving yourself, loving your creations. Perhaps you've had to rework some of your creative expressions of self during this period. Perhaps there's some things that have had to be let go of, some things that have been being rebirthed at this time. And it's also the house of romance and pleasure and fun, all of those things that we seek joy in, that we can indulge in here in a physical body on Earth. So this is a time as Venus moves back through this house, you might be feeling this need for connection deepening, this need for self-expression, perhaps through a creative endeavor, perhaps through a romantic connection with another person, starting to reawaken, and all of the work you've been doing on learning how to love yourself and feeling worthy as you are and expressing yourself in your unique individual style can start to reap rewards. We've also got Mercury, re-entering the final degrees of Scorpio in the 5th house on the 1st of December. So they both shift back into Scorpio, within 2 days, and they kind of bookend the sign. Venus in the early degrees, Mercury in the final degrees. And again, this can be indicative of reworking our thoughts and our belief patterns around these leonine themes of sacred pleasure, of birthing our creative endeavors into the world, of our unique expression of self. So because it's Scorpio, of course, there'll be more work to do. We may find that as we start to reintegrate these parts of ourselves, that there are other things that need to shift and be let go of. But in general, we can look at this as a time of deep creativity, of rediscovering who we are, of rediscovering the divine feminine within us and how she wants to express herself. We've also got, as we enter this month, we've got the Sun and Jupiter together in your 6th house, and of course this is where Mercury's been spending much of his retrograde period as well, since he stationed here last month. So there's a huge emphasis on this 6th house, and there will be throughout the next 13 months as Jupiter moves through his cycle here as well, which we talked about in the previous video. The new moon is going to be here on the 7th as well, the day after Mercury stations direct. So the 6th house is the house of purification. It's the house of detoxification. So, and it deals with the kind of mundane, earthly, physical, practical, tangible details of life. It's the house that is traditionally ruled over by Virgo and by Mercury. So when this house is activated, often a wave of cleansing can move through our lives, Cancer. This can be a time when we are really clearing out the old clutter on every level: physical, mental, energetic, emotional. We start to see the things that don't work in our lives, and we start to seek ways to correct them. So this can be a time when we are changing our schedules, changing our routines, getting more organized, because this Sagittarius energy calls us to expand our vision, to create something new. The 5th house, you know, create something new, create something unique, create something individual. But we also have to deal with the details of the physical world as well. We have, if we're going to offer workshops, we have to find a space to do that in. If we're going to start up a healing practice, we have to find a space to do that from. We have to deal with the advertising, with the practical aspects of all of these spiritual or creative endeavors as well. So this can be a time when you're thinking about how you can more efficiently use your energy and your resources. As I said in the previous video, some of you may be called to new avenues of study around holistics and health and healing, which is also contained within the 6th house as well. So this can be a time when that need is amplified, and we can also think about our own health and our own well-being. So Virgo is the opposite energy to Pisces, and Pisces, where Neptune is at this time, being activated by Mars, rules over all of our addictions and self-sabotaging patterns. And Virgo says, hang on a minute, you know, the 6th house says, if you're going to be a vessel for spirit, if you're going to do the work that you were born to do in this lifetime, then you have to purify your vessel. You have to be a clear chalice for the energy of Source to move through. So this is a time when you're going to be discarding anything which doesn't align with the purpose that you are manifesting. And we can also look at the underlying physical and mental and emotional causes behind any physical discomfort as well. This can be a time when we are receiving spiritual teaching, spiritual lessons through the messages that our physical body gives to us. So, you know, if you've got a sore throat, or you've got a bad knee, or there's something going on in your body at this time, have a look at what the energetic cause of that might be. So if we've got a bad knee, perhaps we are being inflexible, we don't want to move forward, or, you know, if we're constantly getting headaches, are we trying too hard to be perfect? These kind of things. And there are so many amazing books that you can dive into around these themes as well. But the new moon on the 7th of December will give you a beautiful opportunity to reset your intentions, to reset your vision in this area of your life. So what do you want to call forward? What is your highest vision for your work life, for your service work, for your health, for your well-being, for your day-to-day life? You know, how do you want to live your life? Can you live your life as a ritual? Can you live your life fully in the moment, in dedication, in discipline, in service? These are all 6th house themes. So devote yourself to the person that you are becoming and set intentions accordingly. So the energy begins to shift around solstice as the sun moves into Capricorn, into your 7th house, Cancer. And we've talked about this 7th house so much because we've got Saturn here. He's been here since last December, last solstice. We've got Pluto here, and last month the south node of release also moved into this section of your birth chart. So this is the space of relationship, of our connection to others, of seeing the other person as the mirror to ourselves and our own issues. So this highlights, as the sun moves through Capricorn for the next 4 weeks, it's going to highlight the issues, the themes, the karmic lessons that we've been working with in these areas for quite some time. So it's kind of like, okay, have you been disciplining yourself in this area? Have you been creating boundaries? Have you been working to create more solidity, more commitment in your relationships? Or on the opposite side, have you been loving yourself enough to let go of the ones that aren't in integrity, that aren't working, where there isn't an equal balance of giving and receiving? So this can highlight relationship themes for you, Cancer. And this is particularly true as the full moon falls in your sign just the day after solstice. So this activates that axis that we talked about last month with the nodes of self, the first house, me, who I am as an individual, and other. Who am I in relationship to other people? How am I learning and growing and expanding myself through my connections with other people? So this is a big, big theme for you, and the eclipses will be falling here over the next 18 months, starting with the new moon solar eclipse in Capricorn in January. So this moon for you is a point of illumination. It's a point of release. Perhaps there are some emotions that you've been holding on to that need to be let go of before you can fully move into this new cycle of your life as we kind of come out of this retrograde period and we're all rebirthing. This moon can illuminate any past patterns that are holding us back. And you, Cancer, who are so protective of your emotions, even though you're such a gentle water sign, you do feel things so deeply. Sometimes you hold on to things. So this can be a time when you need to express that. Perhaps do a ritual, do a ceremony to let go of all that no longer serves, and look at the lessons that are coming up in this axis, this self versus other, this balancing yourself with your need for connection. So you are a sign who is so deeply nurturing, so deeply caring, so deeply giving. Really look at if you are receiving adequate amounts of what you're giving out to other people as well at this time. Perhaps you've spent so much time giving that you haven't been able to, work with your purpose, work with those creative talents and gifts that have been wanting to be expressed through the 5th house during this Venus in Scorpio and Mercury in Scorpio period. So it's an exciting time of change and transition, and particularly as Mars, the warrior planet, moves into his home sign of Aries on the 1st of January. So he's going to come into your 10th house of career and purpose. And as he moves through Aries in the new year, he's going to be trining Venus and Jupiter as they move through that 6th house of work and purpose and service. So this is a time, when you can start to feel really fired up about what you have to offer the world and really ready to make those changes that allow you to manifest your destiny, that allow you to take action. Because there is an energy this month as Neptune is so activated by the planets in Sagittarius, where we might be kind of a little bit lost in fantasy or delusion. Things will be unclear, particularly while Mercury is still retrograde. and up until really he leaves his shadow on Christmas Day. So as we move into this new year, we have this surge of energy that asks us, you know, where are you directing your energy? You know, the glyph of Mars is like an arrow pointing forward. He's in his home sign, the sign of the initiator. So what are you going to initiate in these areas of your life, Cancer? So, like I say, we'll close the cycle with that new moon eclipse in your 7th house, which will be highlighting those themes that we've discussed earlier in the video, and we'll discuss more as we head into the next cycle of videos. So this month, because we're working with the kind of deep intuitive waters of Scorpio still, as I'm recording these videos, I'm going to use tarot cards for a change. I'm going to use the Glastonbury Tarot by Lisa Tenzin-Dolmer. And these are really beautiful, really brightly coloured, and they all have the mythology and landscape of Glastonbury, of Avalon, intertwined within them. So let's pick one for you for this month, Cancer. Oh, and that one just jumped out. That's really interesting. The Emperor, the card of Aries. So that really for me is saying that this is a time when you can be really grounding those inspirations and visions as we head into the new year. We can see the ram horns on here. He's on the back of his throne, and he's saying, you know, this is a time when you will start to be able to charge forward, to move forward, to initiate the new. The Emperor can also denote issues with authority and issues with the father or the masculine. So that's very interesting with Saturn moving through your 7th house. So maybe there are some issues with feeling restricted that need to be dealt with during this time. Perhaps there are some issues with men or the inner masculine or father figures that we need to look at. The axis of Cancer and Capricorn deals very much with our ancestral lineage and our genetic lineage. So this can be a time of looking at issues passed down through the men in our family, or the way the women in our family related to men, and work on clearing them out, because there is a theme of relationship that's happening in general this month and in your chart with the 5th and 7th houses of romance and pleasure and partnership being activated. So maybe there's some work to do around that as well. But generally, you know, this can be a time of you claiming your throne as Mars moves into the highest point of your chart. So how are you going to use this energy? How are you going to ground it? He's a 4 card as well. So let's think about that as we move into the new year. Thank you so much for listening to me, Cancer. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you wish to connect with me further, you can click the links beneath this video to take you to my Facebook pages and groups where I do a lot of astrological writing and offerings. I am sending you so much love and wishing you a blessed Yule or Letha season, depending on where you are in the world.